Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 28 of the Yellow Card Podcast presented to you by Couch Guy Sports. If you haven't checked out CouchGuySports.com, I will beg you to do so because you are missing out on so much phenomenal content on a daily basis written by our amazing staff of 20 bloggers plus, as well as all the podcasts that are on the network, CouchGuySports.com. Make sure you check out the Couch Guy Sports store as well, CouchGuySportsShop.com, where you can get gear from everything and anything related to Couch Guy Sports. Probably soon you will see some of these on that website. Who knows? Maybe get yourself some gear. But anyways, welcome to episode 28 of the Yellow Card Podcast. With me, your co-host, as always, the Manchester United fan, Diego Galvez, a.k.a. Nani for today. With me, as always, Andrew Fasciano, your Everton magical deliciousness, light and Baines.
Andrew, it's when you point up, Everton are magic.
Nothing more magic than Leighton Baines' left foot. Best left back in Premier League history.
That's right. That toe is as magic as it can get. And last but not least, our beautiful big red machine from Liverpool himself, Ian Rush, a.k.a. Chris Jones, a.k.a. Osmosis, as I call him out of love every now and then. So it is episode 28. There is so much to talk about this week. It is absolutely ridiculous. I could almost throw up.
Yeah, you know what we're going to start off with before I let you get into it?
Yeah.
Why is Fasciano not wearing the shirt?
It was too cold. I needed the long sleeves today.
You yell at me to wear the shirt all the time. Just doesn't wear the shirt. We don't talk about it.
Hey. He's drawn the lines. Don't cross them.
Yeah.
This kid, dude. Oh.
But
comes in there, gets 2 wins against Manchester United and Liverpool, and thinks he can just do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I hate to see it.
Yeah, hate to see it.
Diego, your teeth hurt still?
I'm still in recovery mode. Like the gap is still closing, but it is what it is. But
just making sure. I wanted to make sure my friend was okay.
Yeah, I appreciate Andrew giving me a rude awakening. I need it every now and then. So episode 28, we got lots to talk about this week. Lots of action going on in the soccer world. I mean, you got every exciting tournament happening all at once, and there's so many emotions just happening up in the air. We're going to kick it off with Champions League. It is back in action this week. It is I believe it's the second leg of round of 16, if I'm not mistaken. So it's the closing stages. We got 4 matches that, while you look on paper and you're like, there's obvious winners. If you look at the real game of things, there's not obvious winners because these games could go either way, except maybe for one of them, but it could still go either way. So let's get into Champions League action. Chris, you've been keeping record of all of our matches for the whole entire Champions League tournament. Remind us of what that record looks like so far, and let's dive into predictions for next week.
All right. So, as your head dog, still me.
Oh my God! Hang on 1 second, Andrew. Do you need a helmet, son? You almost smacked yourself off the camera.
I did. I almost hit my mic too.
I can't get.
I looked down for 2 seconds. All of a sudden, I see.
I can't have a concussed co-host in here. No,
what are we doing?
It might make my predictions better, to be honest. You never know.
Listen, you did dude, oh my goodness. I was about to say, Diego, we're about to take it to the first 10 episodes when it was just me and you. I got scared. Thought we'd have to call an ambulance.
Man, I've never seen the flow move, but today you just gave me a whole new vision.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's move in.
Let's dive in, back in.
So as your top dog still, it's still me. I went 2-2 last week, still 20 games up, 65-45 record in the Champions League. Diego went 1-3. He is now fit. Yes, you had Dortmund, who won. You had the draw between Juventus and Porto, didn't happen. You had Barcelona winning. You had Leipzig winning.
But aren't we counting who moved on instead?
No,
because it was the second round of that part of the round of 16.
No, we're counting the prediction you gave on the game. That is what we're counting.
All right, whatever.
So if you want to go back a couple episodes when we predicted who we thought would move on, then I would say you're.
I would probably be 3-1 then.
Maybe 2-2, depending on because I think you chose Leipzig over Liverpool personally, but And then Faciano went 2-2. He's now 34 and 26. But shout out to both of you. Actually, wait a minute. Oh no, I did this wrong. Oh no.
Yeah, I hate to see it. It's live.
Ladies and gentlemen, I
recording.
apologize. I thought Dortmund won on Tuesday. They did not. They drew. So that means Diego went 0-4 last week. Faciano went 1-3, and I went 3-1. So let me fix that really quick. Sorry. So I'm now 66 and 45. Diego's 58 and 52, and Andrew's 33 and 27. I publicly apologize for my mistake here. I hate to see it.
It happens.
I should have looked at the thing. The only thing I was wrong about last week was I thought we were going to get a draw between Liverpool and Leipzig, and Liverpool won 2-0. Myself and Andrew both got Juventus right, and then I called the draw in PSG and Barcelona. So we move on. First game we're going to start off with this week is we're going to do Real Madrid and Atalanta. Real Madrid's up 1-0 in the aggregate. I'm going to start with my friend Nani up in my top right. Could be somewhere completely different when we record. But Diego, my friend, what you got for me?
That's a difficult one.
I know it is.
Because Real Madrid have technically progressed from 8 of their last 9 UEFA Champions League knockout ties. However, this is like the one time where they could be eliminated by a very strong side. The last time that they were eliminated by a very strong side like this was Ajax back in 2018-2019 Champions League. I would have to say
if that was in the
that was in the same exact round.
In 2018?
I believe so.
No, Juventus lost to Ajax, and so unless it was further in.
Ajax beat both Juventus and Real Madrid in that run.
So maybe it was earlier in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get the confirmation while you give the rest of your spiel.
I would say, oh man, this is hard. This one's hard. You know what? This is at home for Atalanta. I think this is a perfect occasion for them to bring it in and close the gap. I'm gonna say Atalanta wins this one with a score of 2-1. They go into penalties, and that's when Atalanta wins it.
Okay, so just for the record, when we give our predictions, it's for the first 90 minutes. It's not for afterwards. Just so everybody knows, so we don't get any but Juventus won in extra time, stuff like that. It's just the first 90 minutes. If it goes past it, goes past it.
I'm still saying Atalanta wins it.
And to clarify Diego's comment, he was correct when Ajax beat Real Madrid in the round of 16. They later beat Juventus in the quarterfinals. Same year.
Correct.
I got my rounds mixed up. I apologize.
Okay.
I'll go and I'll let Andrew go. I agree with Diego here. I think Atalanta's going to win this. I think I hate to go 2-1, but you know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to say Atalanta wins 2-0 over Real Madrid. Let me just write down Real Madrid for Andrew. Go ahead.
Why do you think I'm going to pick Real Madrid?
Because you're going to be different from us. Or you're just going to take a draw. I don't know.
Well, so I have 2 thoughts about this game. The first one is that I think it's probably fair to say Real Madrid only won the first leg because Atalanta got a red card really early in the game.
Absolutely.
They played them very tough, even with 10 men. Then, on the other hand, I believe Sergio Ramos is back from injury or could be back from injury. And Remo Freuler, who, of course, got the red card in the first leg, is going to be out because of the mandatory suspension that comes with a red card. So it seems like there's pieces coming back for Real Madrid and pieces going out for Atalanta. So I think it's going to be a really close game again, but I am indeed going to pick Real Madrid to win this one 2-1.
See, remember when I told you?
Yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the other game that's happening on Tuesday. Let's do City and Gladbach. I'll kick this off here. Gladbach was going to be my surprise team, but then when they got the crappy draw with getting City, I kind of tailed off of it. I do think City is the best team right now. I do think we're going to get them again. I think they're going to win again 2-0 over Gladbach. Andrew.
I don't know what's going on with Gladbach right now, but they've lost, I think, 7 of their last 8 matches, which is not a particularly good run, to say the least.
Not ideal for this stretch.
Yeah, not ideal. I think this one could get kind of ugly. I'm going to go Man City 4-0 at home.
Nani?
Ruthless aggression. I love it. I mean, honestly, Manchester City have gone unbeaten anytime that they faced Gladbach in the past 5. I believe they've won 4 and drawn 1. So, and at the pace that Manchester City is playing, it's almost impossible to bet against them. I mean, you'd be a real buffoon to do that. I think Gladbach is also dropping in form, considering that, if I'm not mistaken, Rose has been selected to be the next coach of Borussia Dortmund. So, in my opinion, the dude just checked out. He's just there to fulfill a role, and that's it. So I'm gonna say this is a 3-0 victory for City.
I like the. Oh, Andrew, you said 4-0, right?
I did, yeah.
I was about to say I like the progression. I went 2, but then we jumped over. I should have hit you last. You did 4. Diego did 3. All right, Bayern Munich and Lazio.
Ooh.
Bayern up 4-1 in the aggregate. They just pounded Lazio the last time they played them. Start with Leighton Baines.
Yeah, in my mind, just like the Man City game, this is another 99% lock for Bayern. I think they're going to win this one 3-0 at home. They're just the better team, in my opinion.
Diego?
Yeah, I have to agree with Andrew. I mean, basically any Italian side that has faced Bayern Munich in the last 4 rounds have gone to Allianz Arena and been humiliated in one way or another. It's impossible for me to bet for Lazio in this one. Bayern Munich is just a complete different animal this time around. So I'm saying that Bayern Munich wins this one. I'm gonna go with a 2-0 score just because they already have so much of a lead that it'll be pointless for them to deliver a merciless killing. I mean, it could go 4-0 easily at home, but I'd say 2-0. I think Lazio is probably gonna go more on a defensive stretch than anything else to somewhat maintain their conscience around in this game.
I literally wrote down Bayern 2-0 before you even said anything for myself, and I'm now more upset. But I agree with Diego. I don't think they're gonna put out their best team. They're gonna put a team out there to contend and weather the storm, but they're not going to go all out because they're already moving on to the next round, in my opinion. So I think Bayern wins 2-0 easily here. Chelsea and Atletico. This is the game that you circle because Wednesday at 4:00, St. Patrick's Day. Yes, that day, 4:00 p.m. You trust me. You want to watch this game.
Yeah.
I'll start off. The Chelsea's just been since the Tuchel hiring. They've had, I think it's 10 clean sheets in all competitions. They're 8-0-4. They've drawn 4 times. They haven't lost yet. I think we see the same thing as last time. I think we're gonna get a 1-1 draw here, but I think Chelsea's gonna move on. So I'm going with the 1-1 draw. Diego.
So last game around that they faced each other, it was basically Chelsea dominating ball movement for the first half. The fact that they didn't execute the many chances that they had was a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. But again, you got John Oblak, who's been at his absolute best this season. If you look at the statistic in itself, I believe it was like 65 to 67% ball possession for Chelsea, and the remainder was for Atletico. So at that point, you really don't have much going in your favor. I think if Atletico wants to really move on, they need to switch their game around and the lineup around as well. That 3-4-2-1 formation does not work out against a team that is basically playing 3-4-1-2. Um, and also, I think for Atletico, it will depend as well as to when Vitolo plays his role. Vitolo was brought into the game way too late, and his role was not given the option or the chance to really be the changing factor in this game. So knowing Simeone and knowing how good he's been so far in the Spanish league, I'm actually gonna give the benefit of the doubt here for Atletico, and I'm gonna say that um, they win it 2-0 at Stamford Bridge.
Wow. I like that.
Everything comes to an end when it comes to Chelsea, and
Agreed. No, I agree.
Unfortunately,
I
it's
just
time to stop them a little bit.
I just think it'll be deeper in the tournament run. I don't think it'd be. Yeah. But again, Mr. Fasciano, would you like to grace us with your prediction, please?
Sure thing. That was such a nice introduction.
Thank you.
This is only one that I could certainly see this one going either way. I wouldn't be shocked if either team won this game and advanced. They're both super talented teams. Both have been very good defensively. Atletico, that's kind of their thing under Simeone. Chelsea have been very good at that since Tuchel has come in. I just think that Chelsea are clicking a little bit better than Atletico are right now. Like you said, Chris, they're unbeaten under Tuchel. Atletico still first in La Liga, but have not quite been as good, I would say, as they were earlier in the season. So I'm going to predict Chelsea to win and advance. They're going to win this game 2-1.
All right. That will do it for the Champions League. Stay tuned next week as we go over the Champions League and give the updates on the record.
All right, so we're going to move over to the Europa League, and then we also have a very good discussion lined up for FA Cup. So, Europa League action this week, absolute opposite of what we thought was going to be. I mean, we thought for sure there was going to be some bloodbaths and maybe some close games, but not as close as it was in this first go around. I mean, we basically had Manchester United and AC Milan tie at 1, and it was, in my opinion, shitty game. It was lackluster, to say the better way.
I think it was the weather definitely didn't help in that. It was pouring in that game. But
also
agreed.
United didn't play themselves at all. They played a different game than what they used to, and even the possession, it was almost an even ball possession at a certain point, but it was because of careless mistakes by both sides on the coin. So I'll say it was a lackluster game. Expect probably a much better game to be played in the second round. Dynamo Kiev and Villarreal. Villarreal came in smoking guns and mirrors, and they just came in and dominated 2-0. Ajax and Young Boys. That was one that I was kind of interested on to see how that would go. The Swiss side Young Boys fell hard on their butts against Ajax, who came in and just wrecked apart Young Boys. I mean, just even ball possession. Like, Young Boys didn't even have a chance to control the ball at certain areas, and they were 3-0. The game that Andrew pointed out to all of us, and that kind of gave us some realizations, Slavia Praha versus Rangers, that was a extremely close game. And honestly, even though the scoring was early in this game, it stayed interesting because the ball possession was 60-40. Pass accuracy was there, but it was all about the chances being produced. And Rangers, even though they produce less chances, they just knew how to capitalize and be on top of their A game. Shout out to Steve Gerrard, continues to be just amazing coaching the Rangers team. Olympiacos and Arsenal. Oh boy, do we have to talk about this one. Because this one was one that we knew there is some rivalry developing between these two teams. Obviously, I mean, the Greek side versus the English side. The Greeks came in, did their own thing, but didn't quite manage to score early in the first half, which is something that they needed to do if they wanted to stay alive, right? I'm gonna kick it off to Ian Rush. Then I'm gonna tip it over to Lighton Baines. So Chris goes first, Andrew goes second. Give us your thoughts on this Arsenal Olympiacos game.
I mean, early in the game, it just looked like Arsenal was in complete control. And then the second that Odegaard let that shot fire in the 34th minute, you had a feeling that it was going to be a special day for Arsenal getting revenge on Olympiacos. But then El Arabi ties it up in the 58th, started to creep in. If you're an Arsenal fan, started to creep in of what happened last year. But then Gabriel in the 79th, that was just a beautifully placed header to go in. And then you have El Naheni come in, literally his first touch of the game, he delivers that unbelievable strike. Literally, you're at Olympiacos and you get 3 goals on the road. You win 3-1 is a big advantage for Arsenal. So I thought they came in and they did what they needed to do, and then some. And I think we will be seeing Arsenal moving on to the quarterfinals of the Europa League.
All right, over to you, Lighton Baines.
Yeah, I think this was a game that last episode, all 3 of us picked as one to watch, obviously because of the history between the 2 teams with what happened a season ago with that crazy comeback for Olympiacos. I think we all agreed that this was kind of a test for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta that needed to be passed. And I'd say they're off to a very good start. I won't quite say that they've passed the test yet because, of course, a season ago, I think they did win the first leg on the road before coming back home and falling apart and losing. So they need to do the same thing in the second leg, obviously, in order to progress. But I think I agree with what Chris said in that they've put themselves in a really good position. And I think, like we all said, this is one that Arsenal needs to win. They've won the first leg. I think they need to come out and win the second leg too and make another statement that they mean to go on in both the Europa League and the Premier League as well. And I think this is the perfect platform for them to do that.
Yeah, that's one excellent way to put it. And honestly, just for me, right from the get-go, when the lineups were announced and the structure behind the lineups, how they were announced, immediately to me, it just sounded like, okay, this is where Arsenal is going to be a dangerous threat to the Greek side, because Olympiacos basically came in with a very defensive, kind of stay in the back of the field to manipulate the amount of goals going in with a 4-4-1-1 formation. If that doesn't scream to you defensive mindset, then I don't know what else does. Because then what that does is it doesn't allow for you to be able to be creative in the middle to create chances up front with your 2 forwards. But then you turn around and you look at Arsenal, 4-2-3-1 formation. Obviously, William, Odegaard, and Saka. I mean, those 3 feeding the ball to Aubameyang. I mean, that is just deadly. That is just absolutely deadly. Odegaard has been delivering an absolute phenomenal form for Arsenal. And actually, I would even dare to say that if it wasn't for Odegaard coming into Arsenal this late in the season, Bukayo Saka, he would have never developed to be the level that he is right now. He wouldn't have been as motivated to be, because now he actually has a counterpart that can help him develop his further game, right? So that 4-2-3-1 formation by Arteta with this Arsenal side, it screamed dominance, and that was exactly what this game showed. Just straight dominance from the English side. I will say the next round around, Arsenal will have to do a much better game defensively, because if they don't, Olympiacos will feed right through it and they will have no problem coming back. So Arsenal will need to at least get ahead in the first half with a 1-0 goal and protect the lead from there. Then we move over to Granada and Mold. We kind of knew that this was going to be a one-sided match. I mean, Granada has been a best all season long in La Liga. 2-0 victory for Granada. Mold also lost one of their starting lineups in Ellingson, who picked up a red card in the 71 minute, so he won't be playing in the next round. Tottenham and Dynamo Zagreb. Tottenham did really well, 2-0. Honestly, should have been a much better scoring game considering that Harry Kane was doing really well. But your center backs picked up 2 yellow cards. So what do you do for Tottenham? You just basically defend the rest of your game and kind of control the pace from there. Um, and then last but not least, we had excuse me for a second. We had Roma and Shakhtar Donetsk. Roma came in 3-0. It was a one-sided game. I mean, just even if you look back at the stats in itself, even though the possession wasn't there much for Roma, and Shakhtar Donetsk kept the possession basically in the back of the field, the amount of shots created by Roma, it was just a complete different game. 3-0 victory for Roma. So we're going to give our predictions for the next round here real quick. Chris, if you want to jot down the predictions, that would be super helpful.
FA Cup? I mean, the Europa League, gotcha.
Yeah. So, Andrew, real quick, let's go down the list. We're going to take all your predictions all at once. So, starting off with Arsenal and Olympiacos.
So, hold on real quick before we do it. Do you want to do it for the game or do you want to do who moves on? How do you want to do this?
I think in this version, let's do who moves on.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I like
Good,
that.
Andrew.
Yeah, we haven't done Europa League predictions before, I don't think so. This is exciting. I'll just go down the list of games. I think Arsenal will move on against Olympiacos.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing in that game is that all the pressure is on Arsenal now, and I think that's where they've kind of had trouble in the past. Olympiacos has nothing to lose, which the same could be said a year ago. So I still do like Arsenal to advance, but they're not clear yet at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tottenham will get through against Dynamo Zagreb. I could see that game being a draw of some sort where Jose just sets up to avoid conceding and be annoying as his teams can be. One of his specialities. I think Granada, after going up 2-0 in the first leg, will get through against Molde. I think they'll probably win that game too, even on the road. I think they're just a better team. They've been competitive, like you said, Diego, in La Liga this season. I also think Roma, after going up 3-0 on Shakhtar Donetsk, will get through. I could see Shakhtar Donetsk winning that game, maybe 1-0 or 2-1, but I think Roma still has enough in the bank after scoring 3 goals in the first leg. Milan and Man United. This is, for me, the most interesting match of the second legs, just because it's wide open and could go either way after the first leg 1-1 draw. I think that Man United will get the job done in this one on the road. With Ole, they've been pretty good on the road in European competitions. I think back to that PSG game where Marcus Rashford scored the penalty late on to advance a couple seasons ago. I'm going to go Man United by a 2-1 score in that game. Rangers and Slavia Praha. I like Rangers to advance. Like we've talked about, Stevie G has done a really good job with that team. I think they wrapped up the Scottish Premiership title already, so very impressive. Villarreal and Dynamo Kiev. I like Villarreal. After going up 2-0 on the road, they have 2 away goals in the bag coming home. I think they'll win and advance. And then Ajax and Young Boys. I picked that as one of my games that I was excited for, just because Young Boys had done such a nice job in the previous round against Leverkusen to cause the upset. But I think Ajax are the better team, and I think they proved that in the first leg. And I would expect them to win again and advance.
All right, over to you, Chris. Give us your predictions.
It's so funny because I wrote mine down while he was doing his, and then I wrote his, and I'm looking side by side. I'm like, huh, there's a lot of similarities there. I do. So we'll start off top. Arsenal and Olympiacos. I think Arsenal is going to move on. I think they're going to just be in one of those stages where, as long as we don't concede 3 away goals, we're going to be fine. So I don't think Olympiacos has 3 away goals in them personally. I think Arsenal has stepped up their game as of late. I think we're going to see more of it on Thursday. So I'm taking Arsenal move on there. Tottenham and Dynamo Zagreb. It's Tottenham easily. Harry Kane and company. They're just pencil them into the quarterfinal. Molde and Granada. I do agree with Andrew here. Granada, like Diego said earlier, has been a pest in the La Liga all year. They're going to continue. They're going to move on. Roma and Shakhtar Donetsk. Roma's going to move on. You know, when you go up 3-0 in an aggregate, especially at home, it just looks that much better for you. I'll take Roma there. Villarreal and Dynamo Kyiv. I'm interested because Villarreal came out and they dominated Dynamo Kyiv from the get-go. I'm looking for Dynamo Kyiv to have a much better game this time around, but I think they're in too deep of a hole, and I think Villarreal is going to move on in that one. Rangers and Slavia Praha. I watched this game personally at the Brook in Seabrook, New Hampshire. Shout out to that place because literally you had all your content here, and then you had a rotating screen of the UEFA League, the Europa League. So I'm literally sitting there watching Rangers and Slavia Praha, and I think the Rangers are going to win this. Slavia Praha is going to be the favorite here, but Rangers is at home. I think even if it's a 0-0 draw, they're going to move on due to the away goal aggregate, which is something we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I do think Rangers moves on there. Man United and AC Milan. Diego, my friend, I hope you get your popcorn ready on Thursday because, boy, we're in for a treat. United, I think, moves on here. I think they win 1-0 against AC Milan. They do what they should have done this past week. They should have beat AC Milan 1-0. They down the stretch just gave AC Milan that chance, and they capitalized on it. I think Man United rights the ship here. And then Ajax and Young Boys, definitely going to be Ajax. They're already up 3-0, like I said, with Roma. When you go up 3-0 at home, it just looks that much better for you. So literally have the same 8 as Andrew. Moving on.
All right.
Great minds think alike.
All right. So for the Arsenal versus Olympiacos game, it's clear Arsenal are too deep of a lead right now for Olympiacos to even bother coming back. Their forwards are just not creating the chances that they need to. Not to say that Olympiacos isn't talented enough, but they're just not creating. Tottenham, Dynamo Zagreb, obviously Tottenham. If there's anybody that is as stingy as Jose Mourinho to keep a lead, it's only him and himself only. When it comes to Granada versus Molde, I mean, Granada is currently in 11th place in the La Liga, continuing to be a pest, as I mentioned earlier. Granada is simply just going to move on against Molde. Roma versus Shakhtar Donetsk. Last time the Shakhtar Donetsk was this deep of a hole, they were facing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was Real Madrid in Champions League. They had a lead and they blew it. They also were able to bring it home and they blew it. So this is one of those instances where I'm sorry, but Roma moves on. Villarreal is currently in 7th place, if I'm not mistaken, in La Liga. And they're doing what they need to do. It's impossible for Villarreal not to move on here. Rangers and Slavia Praha. Man. I go with Rangers because it's too early for the Rangers story to end. It's been such a motivating story all season long out of a league that doesn't really get much of attention as maybe it should. United versus AC Milan. Man, that game was so disappointing to me. But I think if Solskjaer retools the team around a little bit, maybe brings in Luke Shaw instead of Alex Telles into this game, and also brings in Edison Cavani instead of Anthony Martial into this game, then it's a much different story. And that's where I can see United moving on. If he doesn't, I hate to say it, but it could be Milan's story to tell. So I'm gonna say United, but I'm 80% sure. I'm not 100% sure on United. Ajax versus Young Boys. It's impossible not to say that Ajax is gonna move on. I mean, that game, I haven't seen Ajax be this dominating since last year, basically. And they're just one of those institutions that even if they lose talent, they just know how to bring more talent back on. It's ridiculous how good of a scouting they do. But that does it for Europa League. Let's
Wow.
dive in-
So all three of us have the same 8 moving on. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Let's move into.
Round of applause, boys. Round of applause. Yeah, pat yourself on the back there. Thanks.
Let's move on to FA Cup real quick because it's only 4 matches. It happens towards the latter part of the week. Let's give early predictions real quick here. There's not much to cover. We'll let the games do their talking because it's the quarterfinals. Bournemouth versus Southampton.
Make your picks quick.
Chris, go right ahead.
Bournemouth 2-1.
Andrew.
Southampton 2-1.
I'm saying Southampton 2-0.
Why they have long names? Gotta write this stuff down.
I know. I'll kick Andrew in the teeth in the latter part here, but we're gonna go with Chelsea versus Sheffield United. Andrew, give it to us.
The one point in this one is that Sheffield United theoretically will have the new manager bounce, so it might not be as straightforward for Chelsea as it otherwise would have been. But I still think they're gonna take care of business and win this one, probably 2-0.
Okay, I'm gonna say it's actually a close match. I'm gonna say it's 2-1 because of that, because of the spike of a new manager for Sheffield United. Chris,
I'm going Chelsea 3-0.
All right. Everton versus Manchester City. Go ahead, Latin Beans. You're dying to talk. Go ahead. You're dying.
I mean, make no mistakes about it. If we play like we did against Burnley yesterday, we will get obliterated in this game. I think if Everton manage to play their best, they have a shot, but it's going to have to be 100% their best game, or it's going to be Man City easily.
So who you picking? God damn it.
Yeah, that's I could go with my head or my heart. I'm going to pick Everton to win it 2-1, but if we are anything other than the A+ game, it will be Man City.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm going with a 2-1 score for Manchester City.
I'm going to go with a 2-1 score for Everton, and simply because Everton has been this one of those teams that know how to play top of the tier Premier League teams. They did it to Liverpool. They did it to West Ham. They dealt it to Manchester United as well previously. They just know how to play competitive, and that's Carlo Ancelotti's MO. So I'm saying
listen, don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for Everton, but in the chance that I'm right and Man City wins, I look great.
Believe it or not, I think I'd actually be more confident if we were on the road for this game, because Everton have just been so bad at home this season. But you never know.
You never know. Yep. Last but not least, Leicester City versus Manchester United. Oh, actually, hang on. Did you give a prediction, Mr. Jones, on this one?
Yeah, I said City 2-1. I went Man City 2-1.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
You did, yeah.
My mistake. Manchester United versus Leicester City. Go ahead, Chris.
Man United 2-0.
All right. Everton, go right ahead.
Man United 3-1. I think Leicester of in their little end of season nosedive. Yeah, so I think United.
Like too loud for you, Diego.
I need to be able to hear again. I'm a DJ in the city, dude. I can't blow out my eardrums. I'm gonna say, Leicester's one of those teams that just, good God, Everton kicks me in the teeth, but Everton just kicks me straight in the nuts every time.
Just reverse jinx yourself. Pick Leicester, so that way when United wins, you feel great about yourself.
No.
And if United loses, you look smart because you picked Leicester.
I'm going 2-1, Man United. It's a close game, but Man United can pull it off. All right, so
Sitting up for this one, boys.
wait, we kind of hinted towards a later discussion about a very sore topic for certain people, but it's not a sore topic for others that see it in different views. Away goal discussion coming right up because boy has it been a pest in this season. Um, poor, poor Chris. I actually feel really bad for this kid, but in a way I don't. So I'm gonna kick it off to Andrew first, and I'm just simply gonna ask, what is your thought on the away goal rule in the leagues around the world when it comes to, the classifying rounds? So I'm gonna kick it off to you. Then we're gonna grab tissues and be ready to hear the crying story of Chris Jones afterwards.
Yeah, I said before we started recording that I'm really excited for this discussion because I can see both sides of the argument, honestly. So I'm excited to hear what both Chris and Diego have to say about this topic. Overall, I would say that I like the away goals rule. Where it becomes an issue for me is with extra time in the second leg, because essentially what happens is in a normal two-legged tie, you have 180 minutes. 90 of those minutes, one team can score away goals, and 90 of those minutes, the other team can. When you have extra time in the second leg, that just adds a whole nother half an hour for the away team in the second leg to score a goal that essentially counts for double at that point in time. Because as we saw with Juventus and Porto this past week, when Porto scored an away goal in extra time, Juventus needed to score 2 goals to equal that instead of scoring just 1. So that at face value is a little bit questionable. I guess the question is, does the home field advantage cancel that out? I would say it certainly doesn't when there's no fans. Maybe it does when there's fans in the stadium. I don't know. It's tough to say. The problem is I just don't really know what the solution to that would be, because if you say away goal rule is only in effect for the first 180 minutes and then it gets chopped off for extra time, then I think the counter argument to doing something like that would be then the home team just gets the home field advantage for the extra half hour and the away team is at a disadvantage based on the draw. At the end of the day, I think the purpose of the away goals rule is to prevent games from going to penalty shootouts. Obviously, we all want these games to be decided in actual open play rather than going to a penalty shootout, which is basically a lottery and very stressful for the fans involved. And I think it has done a good job in terms of that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think there haven't really been a ton of penalty shootouts in knockout rounds in Champions League in recent years, especially in finals and things. Well, doesn't matter in the finals. Never mind. Scrap that point. But in the two-legged rounds, there haven't been a ton of penalty shootouts. So I think it's doing a good job in terms of that aspect of the rule. The other thing I'd say is that, every team has to deal with it. So when you go into it, every team is playing with the same set of rules. I would say it's not perfect, but me personally, I can't really come up with a system that would be better for accomplishing what the away goals rule is designed to accomplish.
All right, Big Red Machine. We've seen you shaking your head. We see a serious face on you. I know I'm grabbing my box of tissues right here. Got roses for you because I'm ready for the funeral. So, talk to us.
This rule is probably one of the stupidest rules in all of soccer. This, like Andrew said, it goes into Juventus and Porto, prime example. It goes into legitimate extra time because Juventus ties up the aggregate. And basically, the away team gets the advantage even in that 30-minute span just to score 1 goal, and the other team has to score 2. No. Not right. It's not fair. It's not right. No matter who it is, it doesn't matter what team it is. It's not fair. It's not fair to the other team that's literally clawed their way back to get even to extra time and for them to score a goal in extra time. I'm going black. And for them to score a goal in extra time and then you have to score 2 because they scored 1 doesn't make sense to me. No, I don't like it. I don't like the rule personally.
So just to clarify, sorry. Your issue is not with the rule overall. It's more with that specific point about extra time. Is that fair to say?
I think it's the rule, even the rule period is stupid. I think no matter how big the difference is, you get 2 legs. You have 180 minutes. It shouldn't matter whether you score at home or away. Who gives a shit, really? Who really gives a shit where you score the goal? You score the goals. That's it. If they're tied after 180, no matter if it's home or away, and who scored this and who scored away and who scored that, extra time. Do it. Who cares? It's fun to see teams get desperate in that 30-minute span. And if it doesn't work that way, you know what you do? You go to a golden boot or a golden goal. Next goal wins. It's all you have to do. You don't have to settle for penalty kicks if you don't want to. Create instead of having what you have is your 30-minute time frame. Why don't you just do a golden goal where the next goal wins? You just play until the next goal wins. Plain and simple. This has screwed teams left and right, and for teams to come back and work as hard as teams have worked, only to get screwed on the away goal rule, it's the stupidest thing ever. Shout out to Porto, for going to the quarterfinal. Can't take nothing away from them. But just because you scored a goal on the road in extra time, you get awarded basically a 2-goal lead. No, that's not how soccer should work, personally. So I think the away goal is stupid, not because it screwed teams, but the last couple seasons we've seen it screw a team that is the better team overall. And if we want to see in the quarterfinals, we want to see the big teams. We want to see, who's going to draw the most money. And to have teams like that go out because of this dumb fucking rule, it's idiotic to me. I don't understand how they can just do it. I understand the other side of it. It makes sense to avoid all the extra legs and stuff like that. Just go to a golden boot. If you're tied after 180, doesn't matter where you score. Just go to a golden goal. Next goal wins. It's all you have to do. It's not that hard. My blood boils just talking about this rule. Because from a personal standpoint, the last 2 years we've been screwed out of moving on in the Champions League because of this fucking rule as a Juventus fan. And it's bullshit because we literally work our asses off and we get to the point where we're tied, but because they scored more at our place than we did at theirs, they get to move on. That's not how it should work. It's not fair. It's not fair to anybody, no matter who it is. I'm not just saying from my personal standpoint, but if Everton's in the semifinal and they have a chance to go to the final, but they score 1 goal on the road and give up 2 at home, and it's a 3-3 tie, and you don't get to go to the final because of an away goal rule, idiotic to me. It's idiotic. And it doesn't get talked about because it happens earlier on. It doesn't happen in the quarter, like in the semifinal round. If it happens in the semifinal round, it's going to get talked about more. Trust me. But the fact that it hasn't happened in the semifinal round is why it doesn't pick up the steam. Or even like they did last year. Even if you cut the legs just from 2 to 1, you do 1 game, no matter where. You do neutral site. You play a neutral site game. It's 1. There's no home field advantage for anybody. Do it that way. There's so many different ways you could do it besides this stupid bullshit that is the away goal rule, in my opinion.
All right. So
I'm surprised. I'm surprised I didn't throw anything. I was ready.
Where do I begin? That's my question. Because as much as I see your argument, Chris, and as much as I truly understand Andrew's argument as well, the away goal rule, in my point of view, brings an opportunity to scale the game into that much of a bigger stage, just because it brings a much higher competitive content, a much more competitive energy from both sides to protect their their leads, but it also brings an opportunity to the weaker side to be able to compete as well. In this case scenario that we witnessed last week, you gotta. This is one of those things where I hate to say it, but karma's a bitch because Juventus literally gained up on Taremi for kicking the ball when he shouldn't have. I get it, he shouldn't have, but it wasn't a direct, immediate yellow card because it was not an offensive way in which the game was going to be derailed or delayed or anything. It was not a delay of game scenario. It was more of a I kicked the ball, everyone ganged up on me. Now I have a yellow card, and now I have to play with a red card. Not even that, but Porto now has to be on the weaker side of things with 10 men, fight to get tooth and nail to be able to be in a victory where unfortunately in the extra time they are able to bring in a goal that puts them in the lead. So in a sense of fairness, Juventus had the lead with extra men on the field from the 54th minute. And in that 54th minute, they were able to take advantage of it thanks to Francesco Chiesa, who scored a goal 9 minutes afterwards in the 63rd minute. Raviot also scored a goal in that extra time as well. In 117th minute, he's able to score a goal. Granted, yeah, a penalty happened where Oliveira scored in 2 minutes before that. But if Raviot was able to score a goal, you still had about 3, maybe even more so minutes to be able to create more chances. You have Cristiano Ronaldo on the field. If there's anybody that is really lethal in the whole entire world in creating penalty chances, it is Cristiano Ronaldo. There is nobody like him that can create a chance for a penalty. You had him in the field. In this case scenario, I kind of give the benefit of the doubt here to Porto. Does Juventus have the better team? Absolutely. There is no questions about that. The amount of talent that Juventus has in all their roster is insane. Absolutely insane. Should they have taken advantage of the fact that they were at home? Absolutely. You gotta make your home be respected. It's like if Manchester United had a phenomenal team and they went at home and lost to Sheffield United in a classifying round. I wouldn't be pissed. I'd be upset that my Manchester United team did not create the chances that they should have, knowing that they have a much deeper roster than Sheffield does. But it is the beauty of the game. That's why it's called a beautiful game. It happens at any point. Do I think that the rule in itself should be verified to a certain extent? Absolutely. The extra time thing that Andrew brought up and that you brought up is very fair to think, because then it doesn't really allow at the fact that both teams will be able to compete at the same level that they were competing 90 minutes prior to that. At this point, legs are exhausted. Should there be more breaks in between? Absolutely. Should the break in between the 90th minute and extra time be a little bit longer? Absolutely. In my opinion, it should be about 15 to 20 minutes so that these guys can actually hydrate, stretch, be ready to go, and be able to have that level of energy that they need to be able to compete into those 2 extra times.
Before I let you get on, the only reason why it's like that is so that guys aren't just standing around, they're not getting stiff. That's their big issue. That's the only thing with that.
But that's why I'm saying they need to hydrate, they need to stretch to continue to have that energy going, to continue to have that blood going through their bodies and not get cold. I absolutely get that because I've played a million extra times before in competitions that I've been in. So I get that. Your body gets stiff and you're not the same competitive person that you were 90 minutes prior. Completely get that. Do I think that the away goal needs to be discounted away from extra times? Yes, in a way I do. But when you are down 1 man, you are the better side and you are at home, shame on you for not capitalizing on those chances. Shame on you. You have one of the arguably the best soccer players in the world in the field with you. Why isn't he being utilized to an extra capability? It's Andrea Pirlo. Dude, you are a cerebral assassin. You've proven it when you've been in the field. Why wasn't Cristiano Ronaldo more upfront rather than playing back and forth with Arthur to fulfill his role, to fulfill Arthur's role. That is absolutely ridiculous. Why is it that Cristiano Ronaldo has to be the one creating chances for Federico Chiesa to capitalize on them? That makes no sense. Why wasn't Alvaro Morata more in the game than he should have been? That makes no absolute sense. Juan Correggiado is crossing balls left and right, putting them in beautiful positions to be able to score goals, and they're not doing that. It was Federico Chiesa to capitalize again. In the first round, Federico Chiesa saved your ass and was able to score a goal to not make it that much more of a deficit. The rest of the team is not simply performing. So it's more of a performance side of things in this argument than anything else. Now, I do have to say that I would love that in the round of 16s, it was one single game played in an arena that has nothing to do with either teams, and that if extra time needed, it should be a golden goal. I absolutely agree with that. Do I think it needs to be two legs? No, because it is a higher risk of injury for both sides of the teams that then puts either team in a disadvantage to then have to feel like they need to recover fully after that. Does it make it more competitive to have two legs and create chances? Sure. But it's not, in this case where it went to extra time, it's not fair. Um, do I think that personally the rules should go out of things right now? No, it's bringing competition. It's simply bringing competition, and that's where the away goal thing. It's just such a mentality thing more than anything else. And when you are a top performing team and you have top tier stars in your lineup, you have to take advantage of that. You more than anybody, because Porto doesn't have the caliber that Juventus had in this one. Who do you have for caliber? Mateo Uribe in Porto? Luis Diaz in Porto? Jesus Corona in Porto? How do you compare those three to just a single fact of even Alvaro Morata or Bonucci or even freaking Cristiano Ronaldo? Those three can't even come close to the talent of Cristiano Ronaldo and how many times he's been in this round. It's just crazy to me to think that an 11-man side lost at home with so much talent to a not even 10-man side. At this point, it was more like 8.5 because the rest of the team was already beyond tired. That chance at penalty that they created was a last minute deep breath that they took. And that was it. That was the last minute gap where they said, if this works, great. If not, we're absolutely screwed. That was basically a desperational move by Porto because they were dead beat. If you look at the second half versus the second part of that extra time for Porto wise, dude, Porto was non-existent in the second half of extra time. I hate to say it, but Porto was non-existent. So once again, I think as much as I love Juventus and as much as I respect them and I love their history, I'm sorry, but this time around, karma's a bitch. It bit you in the ass. You were unprepared. You have to move on. The shame is all on you.
Your argument's completely different than what I'm talking about in general. Like, don't get me wrong, the officiating in the Porto Juventus game was fucking atrocious.
Oh, it was horrendous.
It was.
There's no questions
the
about it.
penalty in the box for that Porto got for the penalty kick, not a penalty. The giving of a red card for Porto's guy, no, not worthy of a red card.
No.
So you already have that going in your back pocket. But for me personally, you're saying that because they had 10, basically what you're trying to get at with me is basically because Porto had 10 men and they got the goal. They got a goal that it's especially on the road that it still should count as two. I don't care how many people are on the field. They could have 3 people on the field, and if they get it,
but it's not so much about the amount of men on the field. It's also about the amount of caliber that you also have on the field. Because keep in mind, Juan Cuadrado, the whole entire game was creating chances. Cristiano Ronaldo was basically a null void in the first half. He came alive in the second half and was creating chances where Federico Chiesa was able to be more in the picture. But why would it have to take a newbie in your team when you have somebody like Alvaro Morata, Cristiano Ronaldo, Ramsey? You have so much more depth in your team than Porto does. Porto, in this case scenario, needed to be, if anything, defensive rather than attacking. And they came home and attacked you in the ass at home. You did not make your home field advantage be respected. That's where I have the most annoyance out of everything when it comes to Juventus. So I think partially overall that the overall away goal thing should disappear when it comes to that deep of a round, especially in extra time. Yeah, I agree with that. It's not fair. But in this case, like in this a specific case scenario, dude, Juventus has so much more talent than Juventus than Porto does. There is no reason why your team was not.
Doesn't matter the scenario though. You're now basically what you're doing is you're making a scenario of just because Juventus is this all-power Italian giant and they're playing this little Porto team that literally has one less men because of a bullshit referee decision that because Porto scored they should just move on because of it. That's not how it works. It's even no matter what it is, no matter what the playing field is. It's even. It should be even for both sides, especially when it comes down to the stretch of that games like that. And legitimately, not for nothing, don't want to take anything away from Porto because doing what they did was very good. They did a very good job of containing Juventus in general, but they got gifted 2 golden opportunities for goals, and they capitalized on both of them. The one in the box, not a penalty whatsoever. No matter how you look at it, that's not a penalty. If you look at it, Cristiano Ronaldo and company were getting the same exact thing happening to him on the other side of the box, and there were no calls. So if you're going to call it one way, you're going to call it both. That's what step 1. Step 2, the free kick in the second part of extra time that they got, right? Questionable. Weston McKennie barely touched him. Barely. And if you look at Porto the entire game, if they were fouled, they were literally on the ground for 30 seconds, and you could see them going like this and looking up. So they knew that they were doing exactly what they were doing. So, and then in the wall one, literally, he shoots it underneath the wall, and Schnezzi gets his hand on it, and it goes in. It was lucky, don't get me wrong, they scored, but just because they scored that goal in that particular moment on the road and now get a 2-goal lead, it's not fair. No matter the circumstances, it's not fair.
But if you go back to that play, who jumped out of the wall?
Listen, I understand about the wall. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from the wall. I'm not taking anything away from the Porto goal there. It was a good goal. What I'm saying is the fact that they scored that and it counted as 2 in that time in where it is in the game, it's not fair to no matter who it is.
Completely get that. But here's the argument factor as well. Numbers don't lie. And statistically speaking, Juventus had more shots on target than Porto possibly could have. If you look at shots on target, Juventus had about 14 to 15 shots on target.
This isn't what I'm talking about.
No,
this isn't what I'm talking about.
But hang on. Juventus had more shots on target possibilities than Porto themselves. Juventus took also more shots than Porto themselves. Juventus had more possession of the ball than Porto themselves. And in terms of pass accuracy, Juventus was a whole different story than Porto was. How is it that you as a team are not performing to the capabilities that you have within your team? That is my whole entire argument. The team is simply not performing to the level that they can. This is now coming down to a management problem because the caliber that you have is not performing. Granted, should Weston McKennie have started in that game? Absolutely, because Aaron Ramsey was not performing. I hate to say that, but he was not performing. Weston McKennie is a much different beast than Aaron Ramsey when it comes to creating chances and when it comes to crucial goals. This is one of those scenarios where Weston McKennie should have started. When you look at offsides as well, discipline was not there. Juventus was offside 7 times versus 1 time from Porto.
I get this, dude, and this is not my argument with you. It's not about the fact that Juventus literally dominated the whole entire game and they should have won. It's the fact that because they scored literally a away goal, just because it's a goal on the road, it counts as 2. That's where my issue is. It has nothing to do with the style of play. It has nothing to do with anything that portrayed in the game. What my issue is the fact that a goal on the road, don't care if it's on the road, it counts basically as 2 in a tie situation. That's where it aggravates me. This is where I'm getting aggravated. And what you're doing is you're taking the stats and you're like, okay, well, Juventus did this in the game. How come they didn't do it? I can't tell you that because I don't play for them. What I'm telling you is this rule is stupid because of the fact that in that situation, where it is in this game, in that situation, him to score that goal automatically counts as 2. No.
Let me ask you this. If the script was flipped, if it was Juventus playing away, and Juventus got that one away goal, and Porto gave it their all at home, how would you feel about that?
I'd feel the same exact way. You know what? And I'll tell you like this. If we were doing a recap of that game and it was the complete opposite way, I would say, hey, I feel bad for Porto because they got screwed out of this rule. No matter who it is, I'm not saying anything about any team in particular. This rule in general is flawed to the max, dude. There's no consistency to it. For them in that stage where you work hard all game, both sides, and to have it end just because of an away goal and the aggregate's still tied, it to me personally, no matter who it is, it could have been my team moving on and I still wouldn't agree with it. No.
So that does it for the away goal discussion. Obviously, deep topic that we could literally go on and on and on about. Unfortunately,
Diego and I are going to go on about it off air. This is going to be an issue the rest of the day.
But listen, it is a sore topic. It is one of those things where it's much like the VAR, right? Like the VAR. We all almost wish that it was gone.
That's another thing.
That's another one. So it's part of the game. It's part of the game. And unfortunately, it's either adapt and adjust or adapt and get out. Unfortunately, unless the transcript gets reviewed, which knowing FIFA and knowing the management of FIFA right now, it's probably not going to be reviewed for another 2-3 years until the World Cup happens and something serious in the World Cup happens that becomes a controversy.
That's another thing. Just imagine, right? Just imagine this is a semifinal game and you have literally worked the entire year to get to the semifinal point and you give up one away goal and extra time to move on to the final and you don't move on to the final because of that and you're tied. That's where it's flawed. It's because it's happening so early in the thing. If it happens later on, if it happens even in the quarterfinals, people are gonna start talking about it.
I get your point. I absolutely get your point. Like I said,
move on because I'm gonna go on till legitimately 12:00 tomorrow about this. Just move on.
Like I said, there's many arguments that can be made about it. Either way, like I said, things are not going to be reviewed until something absolutely serious happens where that rule needs to be definitely verified. And that's just the way FIFA is, unfortunately. It's ridiculous. But to conclude the episode, we also have developing news out of the English Premier League where, boy, this is almost laughable at this point, in my opinion. Chris Wilder is let go, well, mutually, as they reported, mutual agreement between Sheffield United and Chris Wilder, where Chris Wilder is no longer the coach of Sheffield United. It's laughable because this deep in the season, you're finally realizing that your coach is a problem. 10 games in, you were already in shambles. Why are you taking this decision now? In my opinion, it's more of a financial move. Let's make this a quick one because to me personally, it doesn't deserve that much of a spotlight this late in the season. But I'm going to kick it off to Andrew. I haven't heard his beautiful, magical voice in a little bit because the two of us argued, like bickering.
I was waiting for him to mediate it a little bit, but he just kind of like stood there. I was like, come on, fucking say something. Trust me, I'll say something.
I didn't know how to jump in. I don't know.
It should have just had a question for both of us that you were ready to throw in, but you didn't. It's fine. We'll work on it.
But anyways, Andrew, how are you feeling about the news of Chris Wilder being removed from Sheffield United?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not going to change anything in terms of whether or not they get relegated. For me, I guess it's a question of if you're Sheffield United, do you want to give Chris Wilder an opportunity to rebuild in the championship and get you promoted again based on what a fantastic job he's done the past few seasons, excluding this one? Or do you think that his ideas have sort of run their course and you need some fresh ideas and vision in the club? And it seems like they think that they need some fresh ideas in a new direction. like, yeah, like you said, if they were firing their manager in order to try and stay up this season, they would have done it a long time ago. Like, I think they gave Chris Wilder the benefit of the doubt to try and work things out because he's been so good for them. Obviously, he's invested his heart and soul in the club. He's a big Sheffield United fan before he was even managing them. So I think it's less about what's happened this season and more about where you want to go in the future for me personally.
Wow. I've never heard more of a deep, insightful thought than that one. Chris, give us your take on on this.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I mean, it stinks for him because of the fact that, like, I just drew a blank on Andrew's name for a second because I saw Leighton Baines and it wasn't Andrew. Dude, I'm fucking tired, man. But, I mean, it sucks because, he was a lifelong fan and then became the manager of the team. But personally, they definitely need to go in a different direction. There's a couple guys that don't be surprised if they come in. Just to throw out names, you got Paul Hickenbottom, who's their interim manager right now. But I'm going to look right at Diego when I say this. This would be a spot for Frank Lampard to see how good of a coach he actually is. If he can take them from championship back up to the Premier League and then have them be consistent in the Premier League and stay within the middle of the table, I think that'd be a great thing for Lampard. So that's, for me, 2 names to watch out for them. Also, potentially even like a guy like, I don't know, Eddie Howe. Like there's a couple names you can throw out there, but those are 3 that I think would be the ideal spot for Sheffield United.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said earlier, I think it's just laughable that Sheffield United decided to do this kind of move this late in the season. To me personally, it brings 2 issues to mind. Number one, their willingness to not cooperate with the plan in place between Chris Wilder and the organization. So meaning forward to that there's financial issues brewing ahead for Sheffield United. Personally, for me, I'd rather take Eddie Howe as Sheffield United coach over Frank Lampard or possibly John Terry as well, as has been alluded, just simply because those 2 just do not have the identity for Sheffield United needed.
Just throwing names out at this point.
I no, and I appreciate that and all.
I'll say, you want to go bold?
Personally,
Jose Mourinho. Let's go bold. Jose Mourinho. Just saying names.
No, let's just bring in Louis Van Gaal. Bring in Louis Van Gaal. There you go.
Yeah, we'll just say names.
Problem solved.
Andrew Fasciano, next coach of Sheffield United. They're confirmed.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Just the flow in itself takes them to first place.
Imagine the 3 of us coaching soccer team. That'd be brutal.
We'd get relegated.
We'd get relegated from the championship. All right, let's move on.
But anyways, as I said, that's to wrap it up as episode 28. Tune into episode 29, where we will continue to have lots to talk about as all of these tournaments are just brewing together. What
we'll have to talk about next week?
Oh boy.
Quarterfinal draw in the Champions League and the quarterfinal draw in the Europa League.
I'll be wearing a diaper next episode. So long.
Baby.
But without further ado, that does it for episode 28. Your hosts, Chris Jones, Andrew Fasciano, Diego Galvez, myself. Make sure that you're following us on Twitter at Podcast Card. Make sure you're following Couch Guy Sports, who also presents this episode to you at Couch Guy Sports on Twitter. Check out our website, check out our store. And last but not least, if you are listening to this episode today, Sunday, March 14th, make sure you tune in into our Twitch channel for us to provide live commentary on the North Derby between Arsenal and Tottenham. Signing off, episode 28. Thank you so much.